Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
In the closing laps of a dramatic and caution-filled race at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Abner Acosta spun off the nose of Bradley Holly, ending his run of 3 straight wins. Josh Conker finally took home a long sought-after win himself, besting Holly right before time expired. But the damage to Acosta's points chances had already been done. Will Acosta be able to fight back and close the points gap tonight? Will Bradley Holly carry his good performance from last week into the last 2 rounds of the season? Or will another surprise winner upset the points battle yet again? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the penultimate round of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lundgren, and joining me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Our director is Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras that are provided by the great Dougie Beard. As we get the old band back together in the booth, we join our truckers at the formerly known Gateway Motorsports Park. Worldwide Technology Raceway is one of the most challenging ovals in the Americas, and to find out what makes it so unique, let's take you down to our track guide.
Worldwide Technology Raceway, a speedway born out of the speedway boom of the 90s. More colloquially known as Gateway, the track sits in Madison, Illinois, just on the other side of the mighty Mississippi, from St. Louis and its famous arch. And like that arch, Gateway has become a passage to the western United States for many series calendars. The facility itself opened in 1967 for drag racing, but the changes started in the mid-90s when the land was raised and the rebuilding began. As part of the rebuilding, a 1.6-mile road course was built inside and using part of the 1.25-mile track we are here for today. Its egg-shaped and differing ends in both radius and banking is a challenge for anyone trying to set up a car here. Even though the banking itself isn't too different, 11 degrees in 1 and 2 and 9 degrees in 3 and 4, the radius of 3 and 4 is much wider, so you carry a lot of speed down that front straightaway, which has led to some drama and classic finishes over the years in iRacing and on the real-life track. IndyCar returned here in 2017 after 14 years away, and in a short amount of time has become a coveted spot on that schedule. The NASCAR trucks also make a regular trip here every single year. ARCA is more off and on, and we'll sometimes get some late model and super late model action here with more regional series. Now, with downtown St. Louis and the Gateway Arch as a backdrop, it's getting time to drop the green flag at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
There you see a couple reasons why this place is so great, but Chris, why don't you talk to us about why it's such a challenge for these trucks tonight?
Well, as you can see with the track diagram there, it's kind of an egg-shaped track, wider radius in 3 and 4 than 1 and 2, which can be really disorienting for the drivers, as well as the fact that you have that big opening on the back straightaway, which could eat up a couple of trucks if the drivers are not on their toes. It's kind of a weird length of track with 1.25 miles for what we have here typically in North America. And we're also going to be racing into the nighttime, so look for that track to cool off as we go on and possibly pick up some speed.
Absolutely, and one thing that will help you pick up some speed is the fact that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. They're owned and operated by passionate sim racers, advanced sim racing designs, and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Well, Chris, now we're headed up to the points, and with the driver's points, we got Bradley Holly, who was able to climb about 7 points over Abner Acosta due to that incident that we had last week. And then just a couple of points back now is Josh Conker, 298 points versus 302 for Abner Acosta. So honestly, Josh Conker's definitely in the points fight now as well. So those top three in really good contention for that lead of the championship. Thomas Sink, 29 points back, and Doug Evans, 43 points back.
And the team's championship got a pretty interesting twist there with two of the private label Team Hype drivers in the top three in points. They're now just 2 markers back from the Whataback Overdrive team. So a very, very close team's championship. And a little bit more towards the middle of the top 5, it's Whataback Back Row Racing on an island there, 59 points back, followed by the Whataback Next Level Racing team, and Pure Sims Esports hanging on to the back of the top 5.
Absolutely, and for our race details tonight, we've got round 9 of 10 here for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series trucks. These drivers running 80 laps here at this egg-shaped track. We got no spare truck for them. They're running the fixed setup that you can drive at the C-Class series in iRacing. They got a 24 incident limit with disqualifications after 24. They also have 3 spare sets of tires, so 1 on the truck and 3 spare sets of tires in the pits means 4 sets over the course of the race. And Chris, we've got some interesting penalties that were handed down after last week, starting with Baron Hilton, who's going to be serving a race suspension due to getting 2 points against his name as far as caution points. Then for causing a caution and getting a caution point last week, we got Nick Hunter, Doyle Lawrence, Dalton Geyer, Austin Hunter, and our championship leader, Bradley Holly, who are not going to be able to set qualifying times. This means they will line up according to their points. Also not setting qualifying times are Daniel Ferguson, Mike Richter, and David Mayberry for missing a race. So that's actually a lot of developments that have come out of last race.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge detriment to Bradley Holly. This is not the easiest track in the world to pass on. I'm sure if anyone can make it happen, it's probably Bradley, but it's gonna make it very difficult for him to maintain that points lead coming out of this one.
Currently, Esteban Rodriguez up there at the lead of the practice times. Josh Conker in second, and Abner Acosta third. Thomas Sink fourth, and Bradley Holly fifth. I mean, it's basically, except for Esteban Rodriguez, it's our top five in the points, just sitting there in the top five of this practice session as well, with about 2 minutes to go. Just very competitive times from these drivers, and I think they're all realizing that the best time to make points up for this end of the season is now, because next week at Daytona, it's going to be anybody's game.
Exactly. You want to be as well positioned as you possibly can going into Daytona, because that track has the potential to be such a crapshoot. You want to have as much of a cushion to basically pad you against any strange occurrences going into Daytona than any other race, especially with it being the championship decider.
Absolutely. So as we watch a three-way fight between Esteban Rodriguez, Abner Acosta, and Jim Westerfield, there's Abner making a late dive into the final corner during practice, just testing out what kind of moves you can make, and actually he was able to make the bottom stick quite well through there, Chris. It's such a challenging track, especially as the tires wear off. Now, granted, over the course of practice, they only do very short runs. Look at that. Abner Acosta taking the middle line and pushing Esteban Rodriguez out to the outside there. So once again, everyone's just learning right now as Esteban Rodriguez actually hits the outside wall because that line was taken away from him.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing easy about driving the track. It's got that low banking, which fights you the whole way around, especially once the tires give way. And even coming down the back straightaway here, you see that big opening. It's a chance to possibly get nudged over there by somebody trying to make a pass, and could definitely end your day if you end up on the wrong side of it.
So 30 seconds left in the practice. We got Nicholas Hunter currently trying to get a little bit of practice in as well. Only a couple trucks left on track as everyone gets themselves ready for qualifying here. It'll be interesting to see who we get going, who's able to take the pole with Esteban Rodriguez and Josh Conker. I mean, Josh Conker did a great job last week, able to climb his way up the field, but Abner Acosta and Bradley Holly with starting up there at the top of the field as well. So let's see who can get it done here in qualifying at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
You know, you gotta love those track branding opportunities that we have, but it sure does make it difficult to remember the name of the track. Worldwide Technology Raceway doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
No, but at the same time, it keeps us rolling when it comes to getting these races done in real life. So Patrick Cowgill looks like he's going to be the first one off of pit lane, with Eric Hauk also following him around. So Patrick Cowgill, one of the drivers that we're going to have an onboard cam with tonight. So he's got some great opportunities to show off his mug. And look at that, a triple screen setup with even some indication lights for cautions down there in front of his rig as well. So he's got a great setup, and look at that, he's doing the late exit of the final turn to try and get as much speed as possible before he starts his first flying lap.
You know, that indicator light's pretty cool too. There's a system they use in the real world race cars called the race safe system, where basically race control hits a button and it flashes yellow lights on the dashboard of some of the drivers' cars, and it's kind of similar to that. It's actually a really cool deal.
Absolutely, part of the iRacing SDK that goes through, that can be plucked out from most of the drivers. But Patrick Cowgill coming around for his first timed lap, looking like he's staying about a truck length off of the bottom line as he comes around, exits well, does not hit the outside line. He was a little conservative on the exit. I'm assuming his second lap he'll be a little bit more gutsy, but his first lap comes in. It's a 34.179. That is the barometer for people to beat. And we got Eric Hauk and Adam Zemke also crossing the line. Adam Zemke doing a 34.313 and Ryan Traver a 34.582. So it looks like Hauk did not complete his first lap yet, but Patrick Cowgill still holding that provisional pole position, as most of the drivers are waiting to go until the end of the session. This is something that we saw last week also work out, and considering the fact that it's 7:51 virtual standard time, that's definitely going to be benefiting those who wait longer for the track to cool down a bit more.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking there, waiting until the track cools off. Maybe sun gets a little lower in the sky, speeds up the track, and can work out in your favor.
Absolutely, and once again, you're not going to see Bradley Holly in the qualifying, considering he got a caution point last week and is going to have to sit out qualifying. This is CM Pennington who's coming around for his qualifying time. He's going to cross the line of 431 rather. I'm going to put him at in 5th position right now.
You know, you mentioned Bradley Holly not being able to qualify. One other aspect of that is Bradley's somebody that could very easily have ended up in the pole position. And this series does offer points for setting the quickest time in qualifying, so that's an opportunity to grow his points lead that will not be available for Bradley.
Absolutely, so that extra bonus point for pole position will not be there for him, as Esteban Rodriguez, once again, best in qualifying, goes up to the pole position by 0.2 over Patrick Calgill right now on his first flying lap. So his second lap going to come around soon. Abner Acosta with a 34.163. That's going to be good enough for second position, but he's still almost 2 points back of Esteban. And Elliott White goes up to second now, just a couple of 100ths ahead of Abner Acosta.
Elliott White, one of those drivers that's definitely shown flashes of brilliance in his time here in the PRL Truck Series, has a win or two under his belt as well, and could be a threat here today if all shakes out right.
Absolutely. Only 25 entrants in this particular race for these drivers. So Charles Sumner crossing the line. Looks like he's going to come down in second. Abner, 34.080 goes to P2, 1/10 behind Esteban Rodriguez. Mark Halen crossing the line with a 34.3. It's going to put him further back in the pack. We got Josh Conker crossing the line with a 34.120 on what I believe is his first flying lap. So that's good enough for 5th position, but he's got room to make up there. Adam Shane crossing the line with a 34.293 as his fastest lap. That moves Shane up to 11th position. Was coming in thick and fast here at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, we thought it would be a land rush here at the end, and looks like we're being proven right as Josh Conker coming around 3 and 4 right now for his final lap time.
Last week's winner, let's see what kind of a time he can put in his second lap. The second laps have been faster. A 34.041 puts him into second and bumps Abner Acosta by 4/100ths of a second. So Josh Conker up to the second spot. He's going to start on the front row. Thomas Sink, a 33.931. Goodness, he goes up to pole.
Wow, where did that lap come from? That was absolutely flying for Thomas Sink.
Absolutely flying for Thomas. The only driver to make it into the 33.9s aside from Esteban Rodriguez, and that's going to be it for qualifying. So a very interesting grid here for this race with Thomas Sink taking pole position. Esteban Rodriguez going to line up on his outside. Row 2 is going to be Josh Conker with Abner Acosta in 4th position. Colton Lane's going to start off row 3 with Elliott White on his outside. Danny Cervantes starting off in 7th with Patrick Calgill 8th, and your top 10 rounded out by Eric Hauk and Adam Zemke.
Just outside of the top 10 is going to be Jim Westerfield in 11th with Adam Shane to his outside. Then row number 7 is going to be Mark Kalin and CM Pennington. Charles Sumner is 15th with Brian Traver to his outside. Then Clayton Curry and Jao Guara in row number 9. Danik Momi and then Bradley Holly, our first non-qualifier, starting at 20th place on the grid.
Then we have our other 4 non-qualifiers, Doyle Lawrence, 5 non-qualifiers rather, Doyle Lawrence, Nicholas Hunter, Austin Hunter, Dalton Geyer, and Thomas Roberts. We're going to start at the back of the field also for collecting caution points or for missing last race. So all eyes are going to be on Bradley Holly, Chris, as when it comes to the beginning of this race to see how many positions he can make up. Here's hoping he's been racing some C-Fix this week.
Yeah, I am really excited to follow along, and also looks like we have some proud Canadians in the field.
Absolutely. He's quite sorry, eh? And on the back of that machine.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
All right, so looks like Esteban's finally gotten his truck back into the sim. We're on board with Brad right now as he's just getting ready to go. You can see his game face. He is absolutely ready to go right now. Barely blinking, just all eyes forward. You can see just how focused he is, ready to get going tonight.
And still wearing his lucky t-shirt as well.
There we go. We have Austin Hunter, I believe. Yes, this is Austin Hunter currently lined up, giving us a wave for the camera in that 312 machine. Austin Hunter Didn't have the greatest race last week at Nashville. Picked up a caution point as well, so he's starting at the back as well for Austin Hunter. So once again, all these drivers getting lined up and ready to go. We're just now starting our pace laps.
You can see Patrick Cowgill down there. We took a look at his setup earlier. Really cool to get that over-the-shoulder view.
Absolutely. So, a very difficult racetrack with a setting sun. Currently only 76 degrees in the air, 83 Fahrenheit on the track for these drivers. That's 28 Celsius. Not much wind to speak of, and not much humidity to speak of either. It shouldn't be affecting these drivers much, so I'm not expecting a lot of changing conditions tonight, but it'll be interesting to see how everyone adapts. Thomas Sink will lead them to the field with Esteban Rodriguez on his outside. This will be the start of the race, and we'll keep our eyes on Bradley Holly as he gets ready to go, lining up in the 20th position. Remember, Josh Conker, last week's winner, first for second man on the inside, and then Abner Acosta, second man on the outside. So the pace truck has dropped down, well, will drop down rather, to the inside here, and we will get ready to go racing. Thomas Sink now has control of the field, and he will wait for the green flag. And the green is out. Thomas Sink is ready to go, and wow, Esteban got a huge jump. Such a massive jump, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a little bit of a penalty there, but Esteban Rodriguez will lead them as they go into turn one. Look at that. That is Abner Acosta trying to smoke it around the outside. Thomas Sink doing a good job to hold it on the inside, but can't keep the momentum up. He's getting smoked.
Yeah, they're running a freight train on the 48 machine, getting her by him on the outside, so Thomas Sink may have been fastest in qualifying, but he did not have an easy go of it here in the opening lap.
Absolutely not. Esteban Rodriguez will lead them as they come off turn four. Abner Acosta tucked in right behind him. That's side by side between Thomas Sink and Josh Conker. Conker on the outside, Sink on the inside as they head towards the beginning of turn one. Once again, Danny Cervantes and Patrick Cowgill behind them battling for position. And wow, Eric Hauk just sent it deep into turn one, but Thomas Sink almost drifts up into the side of Josh Conker coming off the corner, has to back out of it and drops back in line.
Turn 2 and turn 4 on this track are parts where it gets really tight on corner exit, and that wall really sneaks up on you. So we could see a lot of issues happening there as tires go away. But even right now, some of these drivers are struggling to keep it away from the walls.
Abner Acosta absolutely wants to get past Esteban Rodriguez and start managing control of this field. It looks like we have Austin Hunter, who's already had a problem. He's actually half a lap behind these guys and running very slow through 3 and 4. So unfortunate for Austin Hunter. Looks like he's already in trouble at the beginning of this race. He's already coming to the pits.
Well, whatever happened, it must have been of a pretty serious consequence, as we have Abner Acosta now taking a look at the 29er Rodriguez for the lead. They're going to be side by side as they come down towards turn number 4.
Absolutely, he was able to move him up off of that bottom lane just a little bit by sticking his nose in there. Esteban Rodriguez giving him respect, because if he did, he'd just find himself spun and on the outside wall. But Esteban, once again, powering back around the outside. The outside seems to be the place to be right now at the beginning of these runs.
I'm really surprised by that too, with the lower banking we have here at Gateway. I really expected it to be a bottom feeder type of track, but right now the drivers that are trying to make passes on the inside seem to be struggling here in the early going.
We saw Bradley Holly make some passes on the bottom side during practice, so it's definitely a place where the tires warm up to. But Esteban Rodriguez showing how fast he is at this early stage when the tires are fresh for these drivers, and he's holding up Acosta enough. The Conker has now cut off to the back of them, and they're joined by Thomas Sink, who's been able to recover as well.
Well, good to see Thomas fighting back. I know definitely didn't start off the way he wanted, but he still has a very fast truck, and it could be a very real threat to win this race.
Absolutely. Bradley Holly has gotten himself up to 15th position as we jump on board with his teammate Thomas Sink, who's trying to hold the mantle for that Wetterback team up at the front of this field. He's fallen back just a little bit off the back of Josh Conker as Abner Acosta breaks a little bit early for the corner, actually upsets Josh a little bit, and the tires already starting to hit cliff number 1 for these drivers. You can see just how loose it is on board with Thomas Sink right there as he was exiting turn 2. But once again, here we go. Josh Conker looking to the bottom of Abner Acosta. Remember, they're second and third in the points. This is significant.
And only 4 points between them coming into this race. So Conker being able to get around Acosta could have major implications on what we look like going into Daytona.
Absolutely, and we've seen Daytona determine a lot of, we've seen Daytona and Talladega determine a lot of issues for the drivers. Ooh, Josh Conker a little bit up off the bottom groove there as he diamonds the corners of 1 and 2. Abner Acosta doing a good job fighting, but they got to be careful. Esteban Rodriguez starting to get away ahead of them.
And not only that, but you see that 60 machine of Colton Lane really starting to poke into the picture. That's a driver that could definitely be a threat here if given the right opportunity.
Josh Conker is able to get the pass done. Abner Acosta falls back to third position with Thomas Sink looking to his inside. He decides better, but drops back in behind him as they enter turn 1 again. Thomas Sink looking to the bottom side early, and Abner Acosta taking a later apex into the corner. We'll see which line prevails as they exit 1 and 2. Josh Conker got a little bit loose there as we ride on board with Thomas Sink again. He might look to the bottom of Abner Acosta into 3 and 4. Thinks about it, thinks better of it.
And you can see right there, Abner making more use of the bottom groove than some of the other top runners. And I wondered if that could have a little bit more of an impact on the tire game once we get a little bit deeper into this one.
Looks like some GSRC merch on the top of Thomas Sink's machine as we continue to ride on board with him, watching him look up the back of Abner Acosta. A report that Bradley Holly has made his way up to 12th position now. He's passed Jim Westerfield, Adam Shane, and Charles Sumner. We're going to jump back and take a look at his progress as he's packed up in the middle of the field trying to bridge a gap up to Mark Kalin.
Well, I'm sure we could pop his driver's view camera on, and I'm sure Bradley looks like he's not being affected at all. But nonetheless, no matter how relaxed he may look, he is doing some serious driving. Pretty much on the verge of breaking into the top 10, and we're only 10 laps into this race.
Yeah, it looks like he's doing a little bit of downshifting, actually. I saw him reach down towards the gear shifter, so it's possible that he's downshifting through those corners. I believe he is. Yeah, he shifted back up to 4th that time around. Doesn't look too happy about his performance right now. I've watched Bradley Holly a lot over the years, and this is not a happy man right now.
I mean, that's just his face. That's just how he always looks.
Bradley Holly looking up the inside there of Mark Kalin. He's going to be able to get this done as they go down the front straightaway. Mark Kalin up to his outside, but he's going to break a little bit early for the corner and let Bradley Holly go. When Bradley is unhappy about his position in a race, you tend to let him go because he tends to be a threat. Looks like Adam Shane had a little bit of an issue. He's now recovered, but he has some right rear damage in that number 65 machine coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, well, I wonder if maybe he had just a little bit of a tank slapper there that got the best of him. But, one thing Bradley Holly is really good at is making me look like a liar. I said, this track is so hard to pass on, and look at him moving up through the field. As we have a battle towards the front of the field, Adam, it looks like Josh Conker, he liked that trip to victory lane he took last week, and he wants to make it happen again here tonight.
Absolutely. After passing Abner Acosta, he has not looked back. Josh Conker now finds himself right up the tailpipe of Esteban Rodriguez and putting the pressure on. Abner Acosta almost a second and a half behind them, with Thomas Sink breathing up his rear bumper as well. You could just see them over that left A-bar of the truck of Josh Conker. We're going to take a look at them as well. There's that battle for the 3rd position. So the battle for 1st and for 3rd, very hot.
And how about a huge shout out to our man in the sky there, Dougie Beard, that has put together these cameras, and of course our esteemed director, Sean Ambrose.
Bradley Holly just made contact with Eric Hauk as he was trying to make the pass. Eric Hauk and Jim Westerfield slowed to the bottom of the track. We're going to take a look at this again. I think Bradley just got a little tight through turn 2.
Well, we'll see him drive it off into turns 1 and 2. He gets to the bottom of the corner. And yeah, I think you're right, Adam. It just got tight on him off of exit, and he ended up making contact with the truck to the outside. Yeah,
Eric Hauk doing a great job to save it. We're going to take a look once again from Dougie's helicopter cam here. Yeah, just a little bit of door-to-door contact. I think Bradley's probably very thankful that the 22 was able to save it because he can't afford another caution point going into next round.
He probably was happy he was there also because, as they say, 8 wheels turn better than 4.
Taking a look once again at the battle between Thomas Sink and Abner Acosta for that 3rd position. Josh Conker has not been able to make progress on Rodriguez, and Thomas Sink still putting a lot of pressure on Abner Acosta. I wonder whether Abner just spent a little bit too much of his tires early on, trying to get that lead and just couldn't quite get it done, and now he's starting to fall back from Josh Conker. Either that or it's the opposite, Chris, and he's just managing his stuff.
Well, he was one of the few drivers that was really digging on that very inside line up against the curb there on the inside. putting that much extra force into it can wear away the good on those tires a little bit quicker.
Absolutely. He's definitely found his way up a lane through 3 and 4 recently. He's just doing a late apex as the truck gets tighter over the course of the run. 16 laps in, we're already looking better than last week as far as the cautions are concerned. So knock on wood for that particular issue as well. Austin Hunter just now coming out of the pits. He apparently made contact with the outside wall through turn 4 on the first lap and had to come down to the pits. He's been in there for 7.5 minutes, just now exiting back onto the track. So he's down by 13 laps over the final drivers, and he's just taken, yes, he's just exited the pit lane. Back down here taking a look at the battle between Patrick Calgill, Elliott White, Adam Zemke, and Bradley Hawley, now up to 10th position as he's continuing his climb. Mark Kalin has fallen back by about 0.8 off of Bradley Hawley, and you can see the 184 in the background just putting pressure on Zemke and White as he tries to climb his way forward.
Well, Elliott White did a great job in qualifying, putting up one of the top 6 times there at and looks like I expected them to be a little bit quicker during the race so far, but he could also be one of those drivers that's laying back a little bit, maybe trying to save his stuff for the long run.
Absolutely, just crossing 10 minutes into this race out of a scheduled 60, but also 80 laps as you see on the board, so whichever comes first. And it's side by side between Acosta and Sink for third. Acosta finally gets beat out by Sink, who's been pounding him for quite a while through 1 and 2.
Yeah, Thomas Sink, I'm not sure if it's a combination of Sink kind of getting up to speed and Acosta falling off, but for the most part, Thomas Sink able to get the wheels back underneath him and get underneath the 5 truck to get back into the top 3.
So Abner Acosta now falls in behind Sink and will try and ride his tail as they try and close that 1.6 second gap up to Conker and Rodriguez. Conker still putting pressure on Rodriguez, but Rodriguez doesn't seem fazed by much right at this moment. Here we see them just exiting stage left as we come down the backstretch. Rodriguez has led every lap of this race so far, and we are just about to cross 1/4 race distance for tonight's race.
Gotta love fractions.
We're heading back to the battle between Patrick Calgill, Elliott White, and Bradley Hawley. Hawley having made quick work of Adam Zemke and dropped him by 0.3 of a second. We're going to jump on board with Bradley Hawley once again. Remember, Hawley is our leader in the points by 8 points. He's currently in 9th position, Abner Acosta in 4th, so he would retain that lead going into the final round if they finished as they did right now, considering Abner Acosta did not get the points for the pole position and is currently not on pace to get the points for fastest lap or for most laps led either.
Yeah, it's really having Esteban Rodriguez up there at the front of the field has worked out in Bradley's favor quite well for this race. Rodriguez is a very tough competitor.
Oh, no way.
Oh, no.
I thought for a second he was. I thought for a second Bradley Hawley was going to make it 3 wide through the turn, but instead he's going to make it 3 wide off of the turn, passing Elliott White and now trying to go underneath Patrick Calgill. Bradley is not waiting for anybody.
Yeah, he's driving like that guy on the highway that made me really mad the other day.
Absolutely, but everyone just decides to keep their races going, not make any contact. Patrick Calgill makes a little bit of contact with the outside wall. That gives Elliott White enough momentum to duck to his inside. Elliott's going to try and do what Bradley Hawley did to them as we ride on board with Bradley looking back at Calgill and White, but White can't make the bottom stick. Bradley Hawley up to 7th position, only 3 positions behind Abner Acosta and 5 behind Josh Conker.
I really thought coming into this we might be seeing a race where Bradley was a non-factor, and I am eating my words here very quickly.
Well, Chris, you remember from a couple seasons ago where those two, where Bradley Hawley pulled a couple of these particular events, but Elliott White still under pressure from Adam Zemke. Mark Kalin has found his way back up there, and Eric Hauk starting to claw into the back of them as well. So behind Bradley Hawley, the battle's still on for that 8th position. And here we go. Elliott White looking at the bottom of Patrick Calgill going into 3 and 4. Adam Zemke trying to look on, trying to find a way around. He's going to try and do a late apex behind these two guys. Can White get it done on Patrick Calgill this time? They exit onto the front straightaway, and the answer is not quite. He's going to have to late break into turn 1 to get this thing done. And even then, Patrick Calgill may still be alongside him. They both go deep into the corner. Calgill almost sends it around, but he's going to keep it strong on the outside.
You know, some drivers have said this track race is almost more like a road course, and that's a good example of it. Having to outbrake your opponent into the turn. And Patrick Calgill able to keep up the momentum and maintain the position. But Elliott White is very hungry for the spot. And you can see him taking a peek there on a corner entrance.
Absolutely. I bet Calgill's just looking out his rearview mirror all the time right now. He is extremely loose going into these corners. That wheel's got to be turning a mile a minute for Patrick, as he's trying to make he's trying to keep this position over Elliott White and Adam Zemke. Mark Kalin now putting some pressure on these guys as well. The battle for the lead has dropped off. Josh Conker back to about 3/4 of a second, and Abner Acosta has fallen back from Thomas Sink by about a second as well. You can see Elliott White late breaking into the early breaking rather into 3 and 4 as Patrick Calgill goes quite deep. They're side by side now once again as they exit 3 and 4. Calgill, I'm not sure he has the run this time. He's gonna have to send it deep like he did again, but does he have the tires for it?
Elliott White did a tremendous job rolling that last corner, but now we're gonna see how things play out here at the other end of the track. And keep in mind, these are two ends of the track that are two totally different circumferences.
Here we go, taking a look at Patrick Calgill and his triple screen setup as he's trying to keep himself ahead of Elliott White. That truck looks like a handful. These drivers will have to make a mandatory pit stop considering they won't have the fuel to make it all the way to the end of the race. Patrick Calgill cannot keep that truck on the bottom line, but Elliott White can't pass on the bottom line either. So Patrick doing a good job keeping White behind it.
And as has been the case here for a lot of these drivers, it is incredibly hard to pass on the bottom of the track. Elliott White has shown he's as quick or quicker than Calgill numerous times and just can't make anything happen with that momentum that Calgill's able to keep up on the outside of the track.
Side by side again, this time into 3 and 4. Let's see whether or not White has a better opportunity this time around. Patrick Calgill, once again, strong on the high side. The real question for me, Chris, at this point, as these guys continue to battle is the overcut or the undercut going to be the most effective? If the tires wear off this quickly and we lose about 2 seconds per lap over their fastest times, is it going to be worth it to come in and get tires early if you're going to lose all that time later on?
That's a solid point. And will what you lose be able to be made up by pitting early and gaining the time on everybody else earlier? There's definitely a lot of pros and cons to the undercut right now, Adam. And gosh, I am just glad I'm not one of those drivers that has to make that decision.
Well, these drivers definitely will be, and look at that. That was the 312 of Austin Hunter staying out of the way of this four-way battle as they come off of 3 and 4 once again. And I mean, for all the pressure that Zemke's putting on White, or rather that White's putting on Calgill, it doesn't seem, I mean, we saw him get a little squirrely earlier on, but he seems to have gotten the truck underneath him at this point. As we take a look once again, that was Bradley Holly and Danny Cervantes passing by the screens right ahead. Once again, White to the bottom of Calgill.
And White is doing the best he can to try to make that inside line work, but you got to wonder too, is that possibly helping to speed up the degradation of his tires?
Well, it's not going to matter if these two are the ones who are battling with each other over the course of this race. Calgill very loose this time into 1 and 2. So while the rest of the field up ahead of them has pretty much evened out at this point, and they're all running about a second off of each other, this group of 4 trucks can't seem to separate.
Yeah, this is by far the best battle on the track right now. Really enjoying watching Elliott White try to outbrake Calgill into the turns, and then Calgill just doing such a great job rolling the outside of the turn and keeping the momentum up. And now it's once again a drag race down into turn 1.
Adam Zemke keeps trying to figure out who he's going to push down the straightaways. He decides between White and Calgill every once in a while. I think if he's stuck with one, he might give them the advantage and possibly advance himself a position. If he can get himself tucked into this spot behind Calgill and push him down the front straightaway, he might be able to advance his position.
I don't know, if I was Zemke there sitting back watching, I'd be nervous these two are going to wreck each other and collect me in it with how hard they've been racing these last few laps.
So he's still watching on as they race side by side and crossing into the 32nd lap of this race. Cowgill very deep into 1 and 2 this time around. Can White capitalize? Can he get the exit speed he needs? And the answer is yes this time. Cowgill a little bit loose on the exit of the corner, and now he's by, White is by, and Zemke looks to the bottom.
Well, Adam Zemke, the vulture there, picking up the scraps that Elliott White there left, opening the door on the 31. So Zemke will get by as well, and that's now down 2 spots for Cowgill.
And Cowgill clips the outside wall just a little bit. I think it's a tight, it's a snap tight, loose situation for Cowgill at this point. So the truck just super tight coming off of the corners and ends up snapping loose for him. He's just trying to catch it at this point. So he's now been passed by Elliott White and Adam Zemke. Mark Kalin, who fell off the back of these guys, is starting to close the gap once again to try and put the pressure on.
And of course, through all that, Bradley Holly up ahead of this battle now and working on running down Danny Cervantes in the 25. You know, Cervantes is a driver who's gotten a lot of love from us this season because he has really turned things up this season. Probably having one of the better seasons he's ever had in the PRL Truck Series, and hasn't really had much to get noticed for today, just running a nice, quiet, consistent race there in 6th.
Absolutely, and Bradley Holly, it took him 10 laps to catch up to the back of Danny Cervantes. And we know how quick Bradley is. He's only about a second and a half off of his fastest time of this race so far. And so he's definitely working, wearing his tires down a lot more efficiently. I say that, and he dives it quite deep into the corner there. But these trucks, I mean, they're really starting to struggle out there. We're going to start to see some pit stops soon, I feel like.
I would definitely agree with that sentiment. You can watch here on a lot of these drivers from the in-car or in-truck camera, and a lot of them are just sawing on the wheel, trying to keep it turning the right way.
Absolutely. Crossing into the 36th lap of this race right now, Esteban Rodriguez leads over Josh Conker by a second, nearly a second and a half. Thomas Sink another second and a half back, and Abner Acosta starting to close the gap once again underneath the second to Thomas Sink. Colton Lane's in 5th. Then we get to this battle with Danny Cervantes and the man we're riding on board with, and looking on into Bradley Holly, who's only 5/10 behind Cervantes for the 6th position. Elliott White's back down there in 8th, still trying to hold off Adam Zemke, who's caught up to the back of him once again. And Patrick Cowgill rounds out your top 10 of this race. Bradley Holly, though, putting some good pressure on Cervantes as we close into lap 37. And I think he's gonna look at the bottom this time. Ooh, he thought about it, but Austin Hunter, the 312, the lap truck, changes his mind.
Yeah, discretion is the better part of valor there, but here he goes driving underneath Cervantes as he comes off of turn 2.
Absolutely. I think Cervantes preferred that outside line, but didn't want to risk it with Hunter out there, so went to the bottom, and it's just not comfortable enough for him to drive that position. So Bradley Holly now powering off at the bottom. He's going to try and catch himself up to Colton Lane, who's 2 seconds ahead.
Well, how about this, Adam? We're just 2 laps away from the halfway point. Bradley has driven from 20th up to 6th. That is just a tremendous drive up through the field.
Absolutely, but unless we get a caution, I fear that his progress may be stopped here, and well, not stopped, but it's definitely going to be slowed here, considering the fact that we have that the tires are just in such a dire state for the 184. I have been keeping my eyes on Abner Acosta as he's been trying to close his gap to Thomas Sink. Thomas Sink has 2 trucks ahead of him, Doyle Lawrence and Danik Moby, who are both lap trucks. They're battling for 21st and 22nd. They don't have to give way to Thomas, but Thomas isn't going to be too happy about being held up, and Thomas is going to take him 3 wide down the backstretch. Let's see what happens here. Momi a little bit weaving on the backstretch there as Doyle Lawrence actually backs out of it a little bit. Abner Acosta's going to go around the outside of these guys now.
And you see many drivers will have different ways to interpret this situation. Like you mentioned, Adam, the 12 and the 9 were racing for position on track. By rights, they don't have to give up that battle just because the leaders are behind them. But you see the drivers playing the respectful route, getting single file, and allowing the lead lap trucks to get by before they go back to resuming their battle.
And the lead has actually closed in quite a bit as well. Josh Conker underneath the second to Esteban Rodriguez, as Esteban's also dealing with lap traffic. Esteban's putting that lap traffic down quite quickly, actually. But Josh Conker able to close up a little bit. And it looks like we've had our first taker on pit lane. That's going to be Nicholas Hunter, who's come to the pits. And Colton Lane's going to follow him in. On board with Esteban Rodriguez now as he's trying to navigate traffic. Clayton Curry up ahead of him. And definitely a lot of drivers taking to the pits now. Patrick Calgill has come in, as well as Mark Kalin, Eric Hauk. So, Josh Conker misses pit road behind. Josh Conker tried to get onto pit road and goes through the grass. And now he's hauled up Thomas Sink as well. This all falls into the hands of Esteban Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's going to be to the detriment of your second and third place trucks there, as we're going to go back and take a quick look at it, Adam.
I'm just not sure that he knew. I don't know whether he practiced this pit entry enough. Here he comes on the brakes and just can't get it stopped. Goes into the grass, able to catch his traction on that pavement patch, and then drops it back into lane. Thomas Sink has to whoa up behind him, and that brings Abner Acosta right into it. It's going to be a three-way fight off of pit lane. Yeah,
those sometimes those pit safety roads that they have here can be a bit tricky, as we saw. Definitely caught out Josh Conker, but looks like Josh is able to maintain position as they exit the pit area.
Absolutely, and it's going to be pretty even between Conker, Thomas, and Abner. Esteban Rodriguez has come to pit lane, as well as Adam Semke. Danny Cervantes has decided to stay out. I can also report that Bradley Hawley has come in and completed his pit stop, and as per usual, Chris, Bradley Hawley has the fastest time on pit lane with a delta of 39.6.
Danny Cervantes, you can see the right side of his truck worn out, Adam.
Absolutely, he's got that, well, what is normally a Darlington stripe, but Cervantes, wow, that was a slow truck on pit lane. But once again, taking a look at Connor. This is Josh Connor as he's just trying to get these tires warmed up as he slides himself off of 1 and 2, trying to make as much speed as possible. So Cervantes in the pits. Charles Sumner also in the pits behind Cervantes. Ryan Travers going to stay out for a little bit longer himself as we watch our what will be leader continue to go around. He's got about a second and a half over Thomas Sink, and Abner Acosta has gotten a lot closer to Sink due to that pit lane entry issue. Oh, and here we go. Esteban Rodriguez just up ahead of Josh Conker, and we're riding on board with Josh Conker as he's trying to catch up to Esteban Rodriguez, who will inherit the lead of this race once Joao Guerrera and Ryan Traver come in for their pit stops. They're only 6 seconds ahead of him. Riding on board, Josh doing an excellent job trying to catch up to the back of Esteban Rodriguez. Abner Acosta, though, breathing all down the neck of Thomas Sink behind him by about a second and a half.
This is another great perspective of how different this track drives end to end. This is one of my favorite views of this track, because you can see just how distinct each end of the track is. I mean, not just the scenery on the outside, obviously, but just the way you drive these two different corners of the track with the two different radiuses in the corner. It is just such an amazing sight here.
Absolutely, and as Josh continues to try and work on Esteban, that is Joao Guerrera, who's just coming into the pits ahead of them. So Joao takes it very slowly into the pits. And actually, Abner Acosta is right on the back of Thomas Sink. Less than 0.2 of a second now, and he's got the speed as they come off of 3 and 4.
And look at that.
Yeah. Esteban Rodriguez putting in the fastest lap of the race.
Must be the track cooling off there, helping to get the speed up now that he's got the fresh rubber on there.
So Rodriguez re-inherits the lead. Josh Conker, who we're riding on board with, follows in behind in second. Thomas Sink in third position, a second and a half back. Abner Acosta breathing down his neck quite heavily as they come off of 3 and 4. Riding on board with Abner Acosta. Is he going to take a look into 1 and 2 this time? No.
I think Abner's changed his approach here a little bit, Adam. I think he's going to make his moves on the backstretch here primarily, just based on how conservative he took that front straightaway. I think he's going to try to stick with it and then make his moves off at 2 and into 4.
Also,
or into 3.
Also, I think he's just riding the back of Thomas Sink and hoping that Thomas catches up to Josh Conker, who's now dropped off by about 1.5 seconds over Esteban Rodriguez, who, once again, has the fastest lap of this race. Esteban Rodriguez also has locked in, at this point, the most laps led point, so that takes that away from the points battle that we've been seeing. Thomas Sink very deep into 1 and 2, manages to get it going once again, though.
Yeah, it's probably not the path Abner was hoping he would take, but so far he looks content to just sit there and ride.
But one thing he's not going to be content with, the person right behind him in the standings, take a look at that tree on the left, it's Bradley Holly. So Bradley Holly about 5 seconds back, but here we go. Abner Acosta looking to the bottom of Thomas Sink into 1 and 2. This is Thomas Sink's weakest corner. Dives it down to the inside. Thomas goes to the outside a little wide. They're side by side as they exit 1 and 2. Thomas Sink trying to hang on to it, is able to do so. How deep does Abner Acosta dare go into 3 and 4? How much tire does he want to spend trying to make this work? The answer is a lot. He dives it deep into the corner. Thomas Sink trying to do the over-under on him. Can't quite get it done. Abner Acosta up to 3rd position.
You gotta wonder if that's maybe the road racing background that Acosta has, helping him manage the braking into 3 and 4 and getting around the 48 of Thomas Sink.
I also think he saw Bradley Holly closing in behind him. He closed about 0.5 seconds just on the last lap. So Abner Acosta realizing he needs to get his pace up and going to try and gap Bradley Holly and get as many points as he can between himself and Bradley going into the final race. At this point, they would enter the final race about 5 points apart. With advantage to Bradley Holly, but Josh Conker has also made progress on Abner Acosta, so they would enter the final race 2 points apart.
Well, that is definitely, if you're the one ahead, uncomfortably close heading into Daytona.
But Thomas Sink still clinging to the back of Abner Acosta. Josh Conker's falling off the back of Rodriguez. Still about 1.5 seconds between those two drivers. Bradley Holly about 4 seconds behind Thomas Sink and has not been able to close ever since that battle between these two separated. The battle for that 6th, 7th, and 8th position has gone the way of Elliott White at this point. Danny Cervantes has fallen back to 8th spot and is trying to catch up to White, but White has a little bit of traffic between himself and Cervantes. As Joao Guerrera, who is pushing Cervantes down to the bottom lane. Cervantes is the truck on the bottom, just behind these two trucks that you're looking at right now, Elliott White and Adam Shane. Looks like we had a truck that blew an engine. I think that was Doyle Lawrence who blew his engine, unfortunately. I think that was just a misshift into turn 1 and 2.
Well, that is an unfortunate consequence of the drivers downshifting and upshifting on this track. Basically, the more you shift, the more odds you have of missing a shift and can smoke a transmission and really decimate the powertrain in these trucks.
Absolutely. So, once again, taking a look at Cervantes, who is one truck behind Elliott White and Adam Shane. Adam Shane, this truck in the sandwich right now between White and Cervantes. He's a lap down at this point in the race. And it looks like Thomas Sink has decided not to let Abner Acosta get away from him. Bradley Holly has not been able to close on either of these guys, so 5th may be the best that Bradley can do unless we get a caution here, Chris.
Yeah, right now Thomas Sink doing his best impression of one of my ex-girlfriends, and no matter how hard Abner tries to get away, he's right there lurking in the background.
Absolutely, as we ride on board with Thomas Sink looking at the back of Abner Acosta. And Acosta, he's 2.6 seconds behind Josh Conker. Now remember, when they left pit lane, this guy, oh my goodness! Thomas Sink manages to save it after a scary loose moment coming off a 2, and we were on board for the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. If Thomas Sink was starting to get a little bit tired or a little bit bleary-eyed, that definitely would wake him up.
So here we go, riding on board as we go down the front straightaway. We're going to enter 1 and 2, and the truck, unbeknownst to Thomas Sink, is going to be over-rotating a little bit through this corner. He's going to feel like it's comfortable until he gets about here. And right there, you see him lock up. He actually put the brakes on in order to get the truck to come back around straight. That was a very veteran move from Thomas Sink to keep that thing going forward.
And for a lot of the drivers that drive with both feet, that can almost become a secondary instinct there. You feel the truck get away, and you're heavy on the binders there trying to get it straightened out.
Daniel Cervantes is finally close to the back of Elliott White. He's gotten himself around Adam Shane for that battle for 7th position. So it's now White and Cervantes tucked in behind Curry. And look at this. There's Thomas Sink to the bottom of Nicholas Hunter, one of the lap trucks. So, man, it's terrifying to go underneath a lap truck on the exit of the corner when you're that loose, Chris.
Yeah, that is not an easy thing to do when the truck is handling ideally. Once it gets a little bit out of your hands like it is for Thomas right now, that is just absolutely not fun to do.
Taking a look at Elliott White and Danny Cervantes now for the 7th position as they go through turns 3 and 4. Danny Cervantes having to take that very bottom line due to trying to get himself around Adam Shane, or rather around Clayton Curry. Adam Shane following him through and taking that 16th position away from Clayton Curry. Danny Cervantes very deep into turns 1 and 2. Elliott White himself doing a great job trying to hang on to this position, but Danny Cervantes has been coming for a couple laps and is going to keep approaching that rear bumper.
Yeah, Cervantes has been absolutely relentless since we've gotten through the pit cycle here, and now he is working on the 27 of Elliott White. And you got to think at some point in this race, Elliott White probably just wants to be able to drive the truck. Seems like he's been in a battle since the moment the green flag fell.
Absolutely. Now Cervantes with a 2-lap tire advantage over Elliott White, which is probably some of the reason why we're seeing this performance difference. But Elliott White, with a late apex to most of the corners, is keeping Cervantes from attacking him because Cervantes can't get close enough at the end of the straightaways to launch an attack. So good strategy from Elliott White to make the best of a not great situation of having all this pressure come from behind.
Yeah, you got to say through all of it, he's managing it very well. He's holding his position and actually getting away from Danny a little bit.
So Danny trying to do his best to stay tied to the back of White. Cervantes just can't seem to get it turned in the center of the corner. His front tires seem to have worn away at this point, whereas we saw Thomas Sink's rear tires seem to have taken a beating. So different approaches to the corners lead to different results when it comes to the tire wear. And there you see just how tight Cervantes is. He couldn't power it off the corner because he just couldn't get the truck turned.
Yeah, it may be a fixed setup, but it is not a fixed driving series by any stretch of the imagination. So these drivers are all taking this truck and interpreting it their own way. And for some, it's wearing out different ends of the truck, and for others, it's just about perfect as we are going to head back up to the front.
Absolutely. Esteban Rodriguez has led the most laps for sure of this race. Led almost all of them except for the ones where he was in the pits. Esteban Rodriguez now leading over the course of this race. We're just over three quarters of the way into this race right now. Josh Conker has fallen off the back of Rodriguez to the order of 2.3 seconds. Abner Acosta another 3 seconds behind, with Thomas Sink having regrouped and putting some challenge onto Abner Acosta for that 3rd position. Thomas Sink in 4th. Bradley Holly in 5th, can't catch him. He can't get up to Thomas Sink. He was as close as 2.3 seconds, has now fallen back to 3.5, so 5th is the furthest Bradley will go unless we get a caution. Colton Lane up to 6th position. Elliott White still holding on to 7th over Danny Cervantes, who his front tires have absolutely been spent. He's now fallen off by 1.5 seconds from Elliott White. Mark Kalen's fallen back from Danny Cervantes by 5 seconds. He's under pressure from Patrick Calgill for that 9th position. Patrick Calgill in 10th. We're going to take a look at that particular battle with Kalin in the purple truck and Cowgill in the yellow truck. Cowgill dealing with a loose off condition, Chris.
Yeah, it seems like the truck just has not been to Patrick's liking for pretty much since the pit cycle has happened. He's been struggling a little bit in this last part of the run. Unfortunate for him. Definitely looked impressive earlier on in the night, but it looks like the truck's just getting away from him a little bit.
I think most of the places where we're seeing the loose trucks are the guys who are shifting to third. The tight trucks, most likely, the guys who are staying in fourth through the corners. But Patrick Cowgill, if he gets that thing wound down just a little bit more and can angle off turns 1 and 2 just a tiny bit more, he might have a better run down this backstretch. But I think all these guys have pretty much worn their tires off at this point and are just kind of hanging on towards the end till the end of the race.
Well, that portion of the race is coming up pretty quick here, Adam. These guys have been mean and green for pretty much the whole distance here.
Absolutely. But one person who's been mean and not so green is Thomas Sink, trying to put the pressure on Abner Acosta once again. He's not letting Acosta get away. Now remember, Thomas Sink is a teammate of Bradley Holly, so he wants to get this job done and pass Abner Acosta to help his teammate Bradley Holly out just a little bit. That's Ryan Traver up ahead of these guys. Ryan dealing with an extremely loose truck, and now it looks like Abner and Thomas extremely loose as they exited 1 and 2. These trucks, I mean, Chris, I cannot imagine how challenging it is to drive these things right now.
Yeah, by no stretch is this an easy track to race on, but these guys have not only been going for 67 green flag laps now, but the tires are worn out, they're worn out, and this is definitely an uphill battle at this point, just trying to squeak across to the end.
Absolutely a deep dive there for Thomas Sink into 1 and 2 as he was around the outside of Ryan Traver. And wow, a pretty decent exit for Sink as well. So Sink's found some speed when he can be consistent, but these trucks are pretty well down on pace at this stage in the race. Right now, the fastest drivers are out front. Esteban Rodriguez and Josh Conker run identical lap times last lap, so that's pretty impressive from those drivers, but Conker actually is the fastest truck on the track at the moment.
Well, hopefully it's not too little too late. He is only a couple tenths quicker, and we're closing in pretty quick on 10 laps to go.
Yeah, but Chris, I mean, I don't see, even if Conker could catch him, I don't see how he's going to pass Rodriguez. We've seen how challenging it is to pass on spent tires around here, and you kind of have to force a mistake out of the driver ahead. And Abner Acosta tried putting pressure on Rodriguez. Conker tried putting pressure on Rodriguez. Neither of them could make Rodriguez crack earlier in the race, and I don't think that's going to be changing particularly as we ride on board, heading around this track behind some of the lap traffic here for Josh Conker. As he tries to catch himself up to Rodriguez, this lap traffic definitely won't be helping.
No, the last thing you want to see when you're in one of these races to the front in the closing stages is lap traffic.
So as we exit 3 and 4 for Esteban Rodriguez, it'll be 10 to go this time by. It's been green all the way from flag to flag so far for these drivers. Conker just crossing the start-finish line as well. There we see Esteban Rodriguez through 1 and 2. These guys are getting down to the mid 80-mile-an-hour range through 1 and 2, whereas earlier in the race they could carry 110, and that's just the tire wear off for these guys. They've been on these tires for the last 29 laps.
And that's quite a distance to make these tires last on this aged and rough surface here at Gateway.
Taking a look at Mark Kalin and Patrick Cowgill for 9th and 10th positions. Patrick Cowgill making the pass on Mark Kalin as they exit 1 and 2. Cowgill to the inside, Mark Kalin to the outside. Here they go into 3 and 4. Kalin got a little bit deep into 1 and 2, gave the position, gave the window open to Cowgill. And Cowgill just able to put the power down. Can he make the exit stick? The answer is, yeah, mostly. Mark Kalin with a little bit of a run. Is he going to send it deep into turn 1, or is he going to concede the position? He sends it deep, but does not move to the inside. He wanted to try and send it deeper around the outside of Cowgill. Almost ran into the back of him.
Well, I guess if you can't get around him, just go through him, right?
Well, I don't believe anybody in this particular league is going to agree with that particular sentiment, especially after last week and the amount of cautions that we had. But Kalen is now falling back from Cowgill. That's Adam Zemke and CM Pennington. Pennington not having a good race at all. Those two drivers a lap down from Kalen, so not battling him for position.
Well, you know, we joke about the caution-filled race we had last week, Adam, but a huge testament to these drivers and their ability. We're 7 laps from the finish, thus far caution-free, and you got to think at this point, Esteban Rodriguez is probably crossing his fingers hoping one of those doesn't sneak up on us.
Absolutely. Now, with that being said, at this stage, if there was a caution, everyone would be coming to the pits for tires unless somebody wanted to risk it for that track position, but they'd get absolutely eaten alive in turns 1 and 2. Abner Acosta, though, has not been able to shake Thomas Sink. They almost had a moment exiting 1 and 2 last lap with Danik Momi, but unfortunately it did not disadvantage anybody. Well, actually disadvantaged both of them. It didn't give the advantage to either Acosta or Sink. But Abner Acosta doesn't seem to be able to handle the loose truck quite as well as Sink with the downshifting in the third through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to talk to these drivers after the race and see what the strategy was as far as the shifting goes.
I'm sure we'll have a split strategy as we usually do with most of these tracks and drivers, but as we take a look at one more crane shot from Dougie Beer as they go through 1 and 2, taking a look at that awesome low angle as they exit the corner, looking down the back straightaway at Abner Acosta. That's Charles Sumner just up ahead of them. He's in 12th position, a lap down. He's the first truck a lap down. Jim Westerfield will be the next one to have that honor. He's getting passed by Esteban Rodriguez very shortly. But Thomas Sink still half a second behind Abner Acosta. Can't get it done, but also isn't leaving Acosta with any room to breathe either.
We are definitely in the winding down stage, as you can see. A little bit more lap traffic up ahead.
Absolutely. For Esteban Rodriguez is actually dealing with Jim Westerfield right now. Westerfield doesn't want to go a lap down particularly. He's just hanging out on the outside. Took away Esteban Rodriguez's line, but Esteban with a 2.6 second lead has plenty of buffer, but Westerfield, he's not super happy about going a lap down. But Rodriguez, with his pace, has been able to lap up to 11th position. That was Westerfield. So it's only 10 trucks on the lead lap at this stage in the race. And coming around here, Esteban Rodriguez through 3 and 4. It'll be 2 to go this time by for Rodriguez. So Esteban crosses the line and gets 2 to go from the flagged man. Josh Conker still 2.5 seconds back. Has not been able to close that gap at all. Abner Acosta 6.5 seconds back of Rodriguez. Esteban Rodriguez, I'll be honest, Chris, has absolutely driven a flawless race. Fast on pit lane, fast to get the pole. He's got a very quick lap time as well, 34 flat. And yeah, that'll be the fastest lap of the race as well for him. And he's led almost every race, so white flag for, well, almost every race, almost every lap. White flag for Esteban Rodriguez. He's going to enter 1 and 2, and he just has to make it around one more time. So does everyone behind him, keeping our eyes on Thomas Sink and Abner Acosta to see whether that develops. But Esteban Rodriguez, a little bit of soft pedaling off of 1 and 2, maybe a little short on fuel, but he has the gap to soft pedal it a little bit here. Through 3 and 4, Esteban Rodriguez has absolutely dominated tonight at Worldwide Technology Raceway and will exit turn 4 to take the win here at round 9, our penultimate round of the PRL Truck Series. And Abner Acosta will take 3rd position over Thomas Sink. Josh Conker coming home in 2nd position. Bradley Hawley will come home in 5th spot after climbing up from 20th, his starting position. What a great race for him as well. So that will take us to a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll have the unofficial race results as well as some driver interviews, so you're not going to want to miss this. Welcome back to the PRL NASCAR Truck Series on Wednesday nights here at the Worldwide Technology Speedway, and it was a very fascinating race, to be honest, with Esteban Rodriguez leading flag to flag, more or less, except for his pit stops. He gets the pole and the fastest lap, and most likely did not get enough incidents to knock away those points either. So Esteban Rodriguez with the maximum points tonight over Josh Conker, last week's winner, who finished very well in second position. Abner Acosta with a good recovery from last week in third spot, with Thomas Sink challenging him through the last bits of the race in fourth position. Bradley Hawley, our hard charger today, climbs from 20th up to fifth position, but will still lose points to Abner Acosta and Josh Conker, who are second and third in the points. Then we have Elliott White in sixth, was able to hold on over Colton Lane, who climbed up to seventh in the closing bits of that race, over Danny Cervantes, who finishes eighth. Patrick Calgill is going to finish in ninth, and rounding out your top 10 is Mark Kalin.
Just outside of the top 10, our first truck one lap down was Jim Westerfield. Charles Sumner right behind him, with Ryan Traver coming in lucky number 13. Nicholas Hunter was next in line behind, followed by Adam Shane, Eric Hawk, Joao Guerra, Adam Zemke, Clayton Curry, and Danik Momi, our first truck 2 laps down.
And the rest of the trucks had some issues. CM Pennington, Dalton Geyer, Doyle Lawrence had some significant issues himself. Austin Hunter spent 12 minutes in the pit lane his last time around. And Thomas A. Roberts, unfortunately, barely started this race. But Josh Conker came in second today after his win last week. Josh, you're following up one great race with another, but you just didn't seem like you quite had enough to catch up to Esteban.
Yeah, it was a good overall race tonight. Definitely tough race. I haven't had any practice at all this week. I've been busy working on my own real life racing. We got the biggest race of our season this week, so I haven't had absolutely zero time in the sim this week, and it kind of showed. I was making mistakes, overdriving sometimes, I had like good raw pace, and I'm pretty sure I felt like I had better raw pace than Esteban did. I just wasn't, definitely wasn't consistent enough to beat him tonight.
Absolutely. And the truck looked like a handful for everybody. It seemed like it was tight in gear in fourth gear, but loose in third. How did you manage the tire wear over the course of the runs? Because you guys are getting pretty sticky towards the end.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad tonight. We were downshifting, of course, as you said, it was a little tight in fourth gear, and we had low enough revs where we could put it down to third. So the downshift really helped for rotation of the truck, and you just had to be really smooth on throttle application with the right foot. It's really all you do. Just don't overdrive the entry to kill the right front, and then just be smooth on the gas pedal there, so you don't kill the tires.
Well, Josh, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the points, but you're right in there with Abner and Bradley heading into the final round. And the final round being Daytona, I mean, absolutely a wild card race. What do you think your chances are to get this championship heading into next week?
It'll be tough for sure. I do believe I was 12 points back coming into the night. I think I only gained 2 on Bradley because of my mistake there, entering pit road, which cost me the win and a bonus point. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the points shake out. I know Brad had a good run through the field. I believe he came home in 5th, and Abner had a good run tonight, coming home in 3rd. So 10 points, I do believe, should be the spread between all of us. And yeah, it's Daytona. Anything can happen. Brad gets in the big one really early, and then we just try and survive the rest of the race, or play the team game, maybe try and get Abner a championship this season. You never know what's going to happen. It's Daytona. It's, as you said, it's a wild card. It's always a big unknown, especially with 2 super speedways in the calendar this season. It's definitely been a big question mark.
Well, Josh, we'll definitely look forward to following that story as we head to Daytona next week. But is there anyone you want to thank for your second place finish tonight?
Hey, I'd like to thank everyone at Team Hype, Ty Stover, Tommy Milner. I'd like to wish Tommy Milner luck at the 24 Hours of Le Mans coming up. He's over there right now getting all the practice in, so I'd like to wish him luck. I'd like to thank all my teammates, James O'Brien, Abner Acosta, Brandon Walter, Richard Regan, Sheldon Atkins. I'd like to thank the sponsors, Private Label, Ethica, my personal ones, Lone Palm Design, and Fuse Graphics.
Well, that was Josh Conker, our second place finisher, and we're going to take up Bradley Holly next. Bradley's going to be talking to Chris Phoebe. Oh, and sorry, my bad. We're actually going to talk to Abner Acosta in 3rd position. He's going to be talking to Chris Phoebe.
Well, Abner, congratulations on a nice recovery run here today. Looked like you had your hands full there with the 48 for a good chunk of the race.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, I definitely struggled the whole race. I tried to save, but I don't know. For some reason, I felt like I wasn't saving. I think I struggle a lot with oval tracks that you have to shift. Don't really like how it feels. So, it's like I thought I was saving, but I don't think I was that good on long runs. So I was honestly just hanging on. But yeah, fighting Thomas was pretty good, and I'm glad I was able to beat him for 3rd for sure for the points.
Now that's one thing we did want to ask about. Now, having to shift here, what was kind of the strategy there? Do you think maybe there was something you could have done there with the shifting and the playing the games there that could have possibly helped you move up the ranks a little bit?
Yeah, with me personally, I don't know. When I have to shift in ovals like that, like since all you can hear is just the tire squealing, like I can't really tell if I'm saving, and then you also have to kind of be easy on the throttle, and since you're on 3rd, I don't know. It's I feel like I just don't know if I'm saving enough or not. Maybe I'm going too fast. I don't know. Something I have to look at. Definitely something I need to improve because I definitely struggle a lot today. But yeah, I know everybody in this track, in order to be fast, you have to shift from 1 and 2. Maybe you can get away with 4th on the turn 3 and 4 early, like maybe for 5 to 10 laps, maybe. But yeah, if you want to be fast and win, you definitely have to shift and kind of get used to it for sure.
Now we head to Daytona, and the points race is going to be very close between you, Josh, and Brad. What do you think of your chances there on a super speedway?
That's basically just a lottery ticket. I mean, I was I was hoping to be closer to Brad. I was 1 point away last week, but unfortunately that incident hit me hard. So I think I'm going to be about like 7 or 6 points behind him now. So anything can happen. I mean, it's Daytona. A wreck can happen. Somebody could pit entry. If you mess that up, you're pretty much done. So it's definitely going to be a fun race for everyone.
All right, Abner. Well, thanks for joining us. Any sponsors or partners you'd like to thank to help make this run possible for you?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody at Private Label Team Hype, Tomahawk, Ethica, Nuanism. I want to thank Josh, my teammate. We got second and third here. This is good for the team points. I don't know if we're leading or not on that, but I know we're very close on that as well. So overall, good team race for us. And GSRC for broadcasting and PRL for hosting the league. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Abner, and we'll throw it back to you, Adam.
Absolutely. We got Bradley Hawley in the booth as well, finishing 5th today. Bradley, probably not the finish you were looking for, but a good finish nonetheless, considering you started down in the 20th position.
Oh, absolutely. Today was definitely about damage control with my penalty today and just trying to get through the field. I was worried that we were going to have caution quick and was honestly worried it was going to be on the front stretch where, the track can get blocked.
Absolutely. We were all worried about that up here in the booth too, but going flag to flag, quite a different perspective compared to last week at Nashville.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have loved to have a caution today, but for the league, I'm really glad that we were able to get a green flag run from green to checker and, put on a good show.
Absolutely. And according to Josh Conker's math, it's going to be 10 points between yourself, Abner, and him heading into next round at Daytona, the finale. I mean, Daytona is always a really challenging race to finish a championship at. What's your strategy headed into Daytona?
Survive. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing you can do. We were lucky at iRacing Super Speedway, given how wide that track is and the high banking and everything. But Daytona is always tougher just because of how narrow it is and how tight the pack can get. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens when the checker flag comes out next week.
Absolutely. Well, Bradley, congrats on the 5th position, up from 20th. That's a lot of positions to make up at this particular track, especially. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go tonight?
I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out. You always put on a great show. Everybody over in PRL and all our sponsors, and all the Waterback guys. They worked hard this week, and we had some really good finishes.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for talking to us, Bradley, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Daytona.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Hawley, our 5th place position finisher tonight, and that's going to wrap us up for tonight. We want to thank the sponsors we have tonight. ASR, they design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebutkicker.com. And SIMMSA, find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net, as well as NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are also listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our amazing music. Check out her Bandcamp to find more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Sean, and Dougie. You can find out more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store. Yeah, we have some merch. It's simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below just in case. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race will be the season finale. That's going to be Daytona International Speedway, the Oval, August 25th, 9 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss that. Joe's going to come back for the call for that one. It's going to be a great finale. Probably pretty dramatic Automatic as well. We also have upcoming races for other series that are listed here on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until then, we hope you've enjoyed joining us as much as we've enjoyed bringing the racing to you. We hope to see you back on our channel soon, but until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.